Moscow, Leningrad Prospect 47, formerly the headquarters of Soviet military intelligence. With the Cold War over, the satellite pictures that were used to spy on enemies are now available for research purposes. The former espionage photographs from outer space are of enormous importance to aerial archaeology. An expert can learn valuable information from these bird's-eye views. The outlines of structures that have long collapsed and are buried deep underground may appear in aerial shots as variations in vegetation and color. This technology has enabled archaeologists to study a small area that the satellite camera 270 kilometers away picked up: ancient Babylon. As the computer enlarges the image, the entire area of a city that has long since vanished can be seen. In the top left is the modern palace of Saddam Hussein, and to the right, the region excavated by Koldewey. The aerial image shows that only a small area of the ancient city has so far been studied by archaeologists. In fact, Nebuchadnezzar's city extended much further, as this satellite photograph shows. It was over 60 times larger than the reconstruction that can be seen today. And from the air, one outline can be seen very clearly: the shape of a building that was destined to become a legend, the Tower of Babel. Today, all that can be seen is a pond. The aerial image indicates that the structure was set out on a square base, so all the reconstructions made by medieval painters were simply products of their own imagination. The Tower of Babel was not a round tower, but a square structure rising in stages, probably about 100 meters high. The great structure has appealed to the imagination of people throughout the ages. The Tower of Babel, more than the city itself, became a symbol of the unrestrained arrogance that came before the fall. Herodotus, the father of historical writing, may well have seen the Tower of Babel when half of it still remained, even though the decline of the city began almost as soon as Nebuchadnezzar's son succeeded him. At least in his mind's eye, Herodotus would have been able to picture the magnificent scene as the royal procession began to climb the tower, climbing to the blue temple at the summit, the temple of Marduk, god of the city. Herodotus reported that climbing to the temple of Marduk meant climbing into the heavens and the stars, and at the top, in the highest section of the huge layered temple, was where Marduk resided. Herodotus let his imagination run away with him and wrote that on a golden bed lies a Babylonian virgin, the consort of the god, and from time to time the god himself appears, Marduk, the divine ruler, the great god of Babylon, the god who knows everything, who sees everything. The fantastic account Herodotus gave was a mixture of imagination and reality, which were born from the repeated stories told in Babylon as it sank into ruin. Little remains of the Babylonian temple towers today. They're just rubble. But in Borsippa, which can be seen from Babylon, the giant ruins of another tower reach up into the sky. Experts believe that these towers were not only temple complexes, but also vantage points that enabled Babylonian astronomers to study the movements of the stars. But Nebuchadnezzar and his astronomers were not merely studying natural sciences while gazing into space. They regarded the celestial bodies as gods and believed that the movements of immortal forces in the cosmos above reflected all aspects of reality down on Earth. Babylon astronomers in Nebuchadnezzar's day used huge temple complexes as vantage points to study the movements of the stars. But they were not just studying natural sciences, as they believed that celestial bodies were gods, and that the behavior of the stars, sun, moon, and the 5 planets known at that time offered an insight into the future of life on Earth. The German Museum in Munich. At the planetarium, the projection system can be programmed to show how the night sky would have appeared in Babylon over 2,500 years ago. In the artificial sky of the planetarium, thousands of stars appear, as they would have done to Nebuchadnezzar himself. Every evening, for hundreds of years, the Babylonians studied the night sky for signs, for extraordinary occurrences, and for connections. Particular stars came to be seen as part of families, like Gemini, the twins at the gateway to heaven. It was believed that Aquarius dictated the course of all waterways on Earth. Sagittarius, half man, half horse, was a powerful ally in war and times of trouble. There was Taurus, the mythical bull, who could devastate whole cities and was particularly feared. The Babylonians invented astrology as we know it today. They divided the heavens into 12 signs of the zodiac and recorded the movements of the stars. They may even have mastered the technology behind the construction of telescopes, as suggested by this polished quartz lens. The Babylonians had a sophisticated understanding of mathematics, and geometrical tablets prove that scientists were already familiar with Pythagoras' theorem. This theorem influenced the architecture of one of Babylon's most famous structures, the Blue City Gate, dedicated to the goddess Ishtar. In his telegrams to Berlin, Koldewey praised the unique beauty of the tiles as the blue glazed bricks were packed into cases and transported to Berlin, where they were washed and sorted. The reconstruction of the Ishtar Gate began in the Museum Island of Berlin. After 2,500 years and a journey of 5,000 kilometers, the great city gate of Nebuchadnezzar was completed, and with it were many depictions of animals in a style that was very typical of Babylonian art. The images of animals worshipped by the Babylonians as companions of the gods would have graced the walls of the processional way and guided every visitor into the center of the city. And what an overwhelming impression the fresh blue tiles must have made on those who entered the City of Miracles from the heat of the desert.